Welcome, everybody. I'm going to be going over a basic tutorial on Xactimate. I have a session pulled up here, and I'm kind of going over some of the basic setup for your project and some of the preferences, and even sketching out a roof here to show you kind of the functionality of Xactimate. So, first, we're going to look over here to the left, and we're going to have a preference tab. So this is going to set some of our preferences for our project. As you look at the top, we have profile, general, and sketch, some tabs that we can uh, go. So right now we have the carrier or the contractor drop down box, which designates which who's writing the estimate. Next, we're gonna have our price list, default price list or property zip code postcode matching, which you're gonna use for majority of it when you put your addresses in. The tax jurisdiction you can alter as well. You can select a code or use the default list. Another drop down here is repaired by. This is stating who is it repaired by, the contractor or the homeowner on your report. Then the depreciation, really important part. Recoverable or non-recoverable depreciation. Depreciation can be recoverable, which means the client will recover the depreciation after the work, or non-recoverable, which they won't, and it's usually specified by age, condition, percentage, or amount. Next, we're going to have our overhead and profit. Really important. 10% overhead, 10% profit, and that's usually done cumulatively. Next is some additional charges that we can add on our estimates. So permits, city permits, re-roofing permits, stuff like that. You can charge a flat fee for that, and then be ready in your estimate, set within your preferences. So you can go down here and kind of pick the dwellings and stuff for that. So next, we're going to go over taxes again. So this is how the tax is applied, whether it's applied to labor, materials, or equipment, or a combination of both, depending on your tax jurisdiction. It could be tax materials and labor. Um, but yeah, as we continue to kind of go down here, um, we've got calculation options, which kind of goes over applied labor minimums and different check boxes here that you can use in your estimate. Applied labor minimums, just to kind of touch on it, are minimums amounts for small amount of labor that may not add up to the value of the square footage of what you need to be replaced. Second is personnel. Who you're going to have writing your estimates. If you've got a team, you can kind of put that in there and put your personnel in there. Reports. Display header. You can make your reports with your custom logo, and have opening and closing statements to give some branding to your estimates. Allows that option there as well. So lost info. This is a preset within your projects. If you're working in a particular city, you may preset this. Depending on where you're working, you're going to have to alter this. So primarily in San Antonio at the moment. So we're going to set this to San Antonio. You can see before I had it set to Caraville, but this is anytime I open a project, it's going to be set as a default there. Um, the type of losses is available here as well, whether you're wind and hail, fire, flood, collapse. Within that drop down box here, as you can see, it has all the different types of losses that you can input. So, um, as we continue down, some vendor exchange, Uh, check boxes here. Really don't use a lot of these. Maybe an eagle view on here, but besides that, these check boxes are not something I use myself. So, um, keep scrolling down here as you can see. Kind of check over some of the preferences and go back. Next, we'll go to a generals tab. This is a user signature. You can set these with graphics and upload your user signature and whatnot. Project window, whether you open in full screen or it comes in a small window when you start your projects, you can set that. The autosave as well, how fast and how often it autosaves your work. Really important. You don't want to lose any of your data. So, also an option to reset your user UI data here within the system. I ended up resetting mine because I was having problems with the Xactimate one click, which I'll go over as well as we get along on this thing. So again, Sketch, either carrier or contractor, and has different options. You know how you view it, what your rotation is for rooms and other items on your sketch, how large you'd see it. So you can go in your sketch and customize it so it's more user friendly for you. Whether it's space, display grid. So yeah, some rotation, and exactly how much it's set as far as and these are all defaults which you can set within your preference tab. This is before you open up a project, so that when you open up a project, it will have your customization as far as your user experience. Some options about levels, viewing defaults. So what are you actually shown within the sketch? You know, are you showing load bearing walls? Are you showing the roof right off the bat? Showing the legend, showing the floor. You can make your sketch, before you even open up a project. It can be set here in your preferences tab, so you can be streamlined if you like a certain layout. Again, more options is 3D detail, is it texture, view settings, the rounding measurements, to the nearest 16th and be most accurate. And that'll be it for our preferences tab. So now we're going to go up to projects, and I've already created a new project, property address. We double click on it, and what it's going to do here is verify and communicate with a Chrome add-on extension called Xactware One Click. Now, I've ran into some problems with One Click. Sometimes you have to uninstall and reinstall it, but what it does is it allows you to open up the user interface for the project. So it is necessary on the Xactimate online version. It's not necessary on the desktop version, but yeah, you'll have to have that in line in order to open up a project and start um, creating an estimate. So this is the create. So when you go to create a new project, you can create it as a carrier. You can create it as a contractor, but then you can put in your project name. So project was opened successfully. Go in here once you open a project, and you can pick your project price list again. You can have a default price list, which they've have some previous ones that are uploaded here. You could double click on those, and then it's going to go ahead and ask you for your tax jurisdiction. So out here in San Antonio, we have an 8.25 tax jurisdiction. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down until I find that one. Yeah, 8.25. Now, you have your commercial uh, and contents and material only and residential mix. I put the 8.25, and then it usually applies to just the material aspect of it. As we saw, see that you can kind of see that in the beginning of the preferences when you can set exactly how taxes applied. So now we're in our claim info tab. As you see on the left, you have claim info, estimates, photos, documents, time, material, tools, and complete. Over here on the right is a checklist for inspection results. This kind of goes through your estimate and kind of tells you, items that you need to inspect as far as your results. But uh, so within the claim info tab, we have the insured info, coverage and loss, and parameters. So claim info, pretty basic. We're going to enter our client's name, first and last name, email address, property address, and yeah, just go ahead and fill that out. Put Mike Jones as property address, email here. – 4815 Lovers Lane. Go ahead and input that. And we can move on to some of the other options that are here below. City, San Antonio, Texas. City, San Antonio, Texas. State. And go ahead and plug in the zip code. And when we plug in the zip code here, it's going to prompt us for a price list update. Now, depending on your default, if the system reads a difference, it will give you that prompt for price list update. So now some things about the data loss. You can get that from your insured's records, or if the insurance company has provided you an estimate, they usually have that on their estimate as well. So you can apply the data loss, date received, date contacted, date inspected. You can add all those if you need. So personnel claims rep, and this is the carrier side of it. So you'll see these as a contractor. You won't see claims rep and whatnot within there. Again, some of the carrier claim info lines, mortgages, loan numbers. It's important because if you do have a mortgage, your client from the contractor side, the mortgage company is going to have to sign off on that insurance claim for funds to be released. So, mortgage company becomes important here. So we're gonna save and exit. I was showing you a little bit of the or excuse me, of the carrier side. We're gonna go back up here and open up the as you can see, profile. This is the carrier for property address 1. And go ahead and delete that. Don't use the carrier profile. Just wanted to show you a little bit of the differences within the claim info and the setup as far as the carrier profile and the contractor profile. So now we're going to go ahead and open this up. Well, we're going to delete this, start over. So we're going to open up a new project. As you see, the drop down here, the first one is your carrier or contractor. It's going to be the contractor side of things. Here, I usually put the property address for the property name. Go ahead and fill in the property address. Right here, we're going to put property address underscore address and create. Successfully created. And go ahead and open the project up. Again, Xactware's one-click software has to integrate, communicate, and it opens up your project so that way you're able to sketch and enter your estimate lines. First thing we're prompted here is for a price list. I have a price list saved, been working here. You can request a price list to get an updated price list. The next thing is going to be our tax jurisdiction. San Antonio is going to be 8.25 tax jurisdiction on materials. Your tax jurisdiction, depending on where the property is located, is going to be different for everybody. I know Texas has certain rules, Arizona has certain rules, Louisiana has certain rules, but yeah. So from there, we're going to get to our insured's info. Again, first name and last name in the name line. We're going to put in Mike Jones here. So coverage limits, any limits in the coverage there tab, it should be available there. There is none. This is the contractor side of things. So I won't show anything. The summary there is a recap of taxes and how that's done. So just to show you what that summary tab shows you. Again, we get down here, estimates tab, sketch and estimate items. Pull up our sketch. As you can see here, we have options, room options, roof options, different options in Sketch. The estimate items, you're going to start, this property address is going to be your level here to the left in this left column. And how you search your item list up there. I'll show you more when we get into the sketching and the estimates. Photos, you can have your photos and drop photos in here. It's usually pretty easy, drag and drop. And then you go to your reports. Your reports, you have in this top drop down here, you have a bunch of different types of reports that you could print out. All are going to have different layouts and provide different things within your report, depending on what you need. Final draft is the report that we usually submit to the carrier. Again, some different options in reports as well that we'll go over when we print out a report of our estimate that we're creating. So time and materials, project laborer. So this kind of goes over labor minimums. This will go over that as well. Tools. So you have different tools here: vendor exchange, collaboration, underwriting checklist, copy from project, work orders, stuff like that. I don't really use any of these things. I might import EagleView, but we'll go over that as well. But that's the extent of the vendors that I use as far as my Xactimates are concerned. So we can get back up in here to claim info and start inputting our client info. Get first and last name in the name line, email, type in the email, property address, street name, number and name, 123 Lovers Lane, San Antonio, Texas. We have the zip code entered there, and we can kind of move on. As you see, the difference in some of the completed dates from the carrier to the contractor, date assigned, estimated completing, job completed. The estimate, so the personnel is different as well. So the estimator is going to be whoever wrote the estimate. If you have a team, you can have different estimators in there, as well as the type of estimate that's being done. And you can input your deductibles as it'll print out your report. So wind and hail, collapse, fire, flood, everything in that drop down there. $2,000 deductible. So again, it's going to modify the price list because we put a different address in there. It's going to make sure and determine whether you want to keep the current price list or adjust it. The different labor efficiencies that are involved. This is going to be a restoration, remodel, service. That's going to be the labor efficiency. The tax jurisdictions 8.25. Again, comes back in here to the different types of ways that the tax jurisdictions are set up. Depending on where you're doing your project, you're going to have to check your tax jurisdiction and make sure you're inputting the right information. I've noticed the carriers usually stick to a pretty standard one, but doing claims in Arizona, the tax jurisdiction is labor, materials, and services are all taxable items as a contractor. So if you were to take the estimate from carrier, they're only going to have taxes applies to materials, and that's going to be pretty important as far as price is concerned. So use default price list prepared by the contractor. Add-ons, these are going to show your tags or default tags, which you can use different shortcuts within your estimate. So again, this is going to be repricing your estimate in case you want. If you were to reprice it, it kind of breaks down where some of the prices has changed as far as your price list. So important one in here is sales tax. Again, goes in to show you exactly how the system is applying taxes. This could all be edited. Again, depending on your tax jurisdiction, you want to make sure that you're applying the proper taxes to your estimate. Next, depreciation options. Again, the max depreciation that's possible, you can put that in there. Percentage
It's either recoverable or non-recoverable depreciation, depending on the policy, and it's done by percentage, age, and or condition, or a set amount. So overhead and profits, the next line, usually a 10% overhead, 10% profit. I add cumulative on overhead and profit, as it's a part of the total estimate. I added cumulative parameters to that. So now we're going to get into the estimate tab and the fun part, which is going to be the sketch. So as you notice here, it has the price list here on the left listed. Um, but the real important part for your sketch is going to be this toolbar up here at the top. I'm going to kind of reduce this down so it gives me a bigger area. But if you notice the tools at the top, starting with room, with a drop down, wall, roofing, staircase, decking, fence, windows, snap line, some other grayed outlines here as well. But these are the items that you're going to use to start to draft and sketch your project. So we are going to do a roof sketch. So we're going to start off with roof. Now you notice I just clicked in it and it gave me a roof right off the bat. That's because the last one I used, or the default, is going to be a gable roof. So we have different types of roofs here: your flat, shed, hip, partial hip, Dutch, half hip, gable, all different types of roofs. Then you can also do a custom roof as well, uh, by right here down all the way at the bottom with that drop box. But all different types of roof types. What's really important when you're creating a roof is taking your measurements on site, whether you're doing an eagle view or taking your measurements on site. Getting your roofs to snap into place. You're really going to have to focus on the slope. As I noticed, the slope, knowing your slopes and having your slopes will save you a lot of headache when doing your sketch, because not having them set right, your roofs are not gonna auto click together the way that they should. There's going to be gaps and spaces, and your drawing's just not going to come out correctly. So we click and drag. As you notice, you clicked it. It gives you your roof and the icon. From there, you take one corner and you drag it out. And now we have our roof. And as you can see up here to the right, it has an F1 and F2. That is going to be your phase one, phase two of your roof. It has the square footage and squares and some other information um, there. So go ahead and drag this out, make it a little smaller. Oh, I'm showing you that you can right click to cancel. So if you do press your roof, and you have your roof and you start to drag it out, and for whatever reason you pick the wrong roof, you can take a right click and it'll delete it. So next we want to kind of go over how we adjust the roof measurements on here. So we click this little tab to the bottom right. It's that 3D tab. It's a 3D button, and allows you to see a 3D render of your roof. Now, this is good to get a good idea of exactly how your estimate is coming out, or your sketch is coming out, I should say. The 3D tab gives you that realistic look to see if everything is lining up. Does everything look kosher and whatnot? But that's going to be on the bottom of that toolbar there, all the way to the right, is going to be your 3D tab. So to click that and get off of that, we went ahead and we clicked that box, that open box next to it. Now we have the hand tool. You can use the space bar as a shortcut to get the hand tool, but the hand tool allows you to move around the space or the canvas of the sketch. I clicked backspace, and it allows you to center your sketch. So as I'm zooming out here, backspace, that allows me to center my sketch and get back to a square canvas. Again, go over here and we can press spacebar, and spacebar allow us to use that hand tool for us to move around in the canvas space. 3D button. Now 3D button with pressing the space bar and using the hand tool, and allows us to move around. When you just have the 3D button, there's a zoom in and a spin function, and that's the extent of your mouse. I'm using a roller mouse, and that allows me easier to navigate on it. Depending on the mouse you use, it could be a little difficult to kind of move around in the space. You have your compass here, showing the north elevation, kind of give you grounding on when you're creating your sketch, to make sure that you're conscious of the coordinates and how your house sits or your project sits. This outline button removes the shaded aspect. It's just a view button, and it gets us further into the view categories of what we can have our sketch look like. So as you can see here, we get a bunch of different options. Yeah, the most important one here is layouts. If you're doing a sketch with room and roof, if you've got a leak from the roof that went into one of the rooms and now you have interior and roofing on one estimate, you can build this accordingly and remove the view of the roof or remove the view of the rooms, and your view tab drop down box here is how you do that. Again, I have a tendency to go back to 3D mode to kind of take a good look at kind of what I'm doing when I start. This box here gets you back to this drafting layout, and that's the box right next to our 3D box. You'll be uh, toggling between both of those. So as you can see here, we do have a chart with some information. And again, face one, face two, it gives you the square footage, the total square footage of that face, gives you the total squares of that face, and adds them up in an estimated total, as well as the slope, which is kind of off to the right there. And it gives you the slope of our roof, which again is really important when you start to interconnect different roof types, whether it's gable, and now you've got um, another hip roof attached to it, or whatever the case is. When you're doing your sketch, your slopes are going to be really important as far as getting those things to match up on the planes correctly. So now we're going to talk about some of the roof properties. As we did, we right clicked Excuse me, we didn't right click. We clicked within that box up in the right corner that's kind of grayed out there with the arrows. And it has a couple of different adjustments here that we can do. The easement height, the eave height, excuse me, the eave height we can adjust. You can adjust all eaves, you can adjust A and B eaves, and the relationship um, above or below. As you notice, there's this little lock on the side here. Sometimes measurements will be locked as a standard, so that way they can keep their configurations. And sometimes when they're locked, you can't move other configurations. So this little lock button on the side of these measurements, sometimes they need to be unlocked in order for you to adjust your roof properly. Again, taking a look at the roof and see how some of these different um, adjustments affect the look of the roof, and what it actually means when you're adjusting them. I usually go to the 3D mode to kind of check that out whenever I'm putting these together to see exactly how realistic or how accurate my sketch is coming out. Now we're going ahead and hit the property tab again. We go back into the property tab, and you can see you can name the roof. The first line there, you can go in here and name it whatever you want. Roof dwelling, roof one, roof two. If you have a patio, you can name it patio. Kind of drop here and eave overhang, which is really important. When I get out to a roof, the first thing I do is check to see if there's drip edge one when I'm on the side of it and on the ladder, and I also check the overhang. Really important. A couple measurements. The overhang is important for if you're doing ice and water shield. Some fascia measurements. But yeah, your overhang is going to be both on the eave and the rakes. So important to kind of get those measurements, but you can set those measurements there in the preference tab. As you can see, as you increase, again, I'm going back to see how the increase and the decrease looks within the 3D render. Again, eave, rake, overhang. And Xactimate does a nice way of kind of giving you illustrations to show you exactly how that measurement or where that measurement's coming from, and show you how that'll change your sketch. Now we're back in the Preferences tab. Eave overhangs is important. Another one over there in extend roof walls. We do want to extend the roof walls down. That way it gives us a better look on our roof. And go ahead and reset these overhangs. Okay, so you have the rafter A, rafter B setting, where you can alter the length of these. As you can see, the rafter A, the rafter B length is located there. You can click that value and it will allow you to adjust, as long as there is no other as there's no long as there's no other dimensions that are locked, which can be the case as you see those little lock buttons on the side. If you go into and click those values and you can't seem to adjust it, or you're moving the measurement and doesn't move your measurement in the sketch, it's because one of the items, the dimensions, is locked. So now we're going to go back into the preference tab for our roof. And again, this is how you're going to adjust different dimensions. So you can go over here to your ridge height and you can alter the face of A or B on the ridge height to set that to whatever your measurements that you found on site were. And again, you can set them for run A or run B. And this is going to be for your ridge height. Little diagram here, kind of show you where that dimension's coming from. Another important dimension here, after we finish up with the ridge height, is going to be the roof span. That is going to be the span of your roof. Guess you can call it the width.
As we can see here, the span is usually set and locked. That little lock button may or may not need to be clicked for you to adjust it. Again, co-assigning um, from the tab to the drawing. Again, two ways to change it. You can go in the preference tab and change it yourself, or you can click on the sketch itself. When you center click the inside the roof, it'll give you all the dimensions on the side. As you notice, there's some highlighted dimensions, and then there's the locks on there as well. Up here, if you notice, the length of the roof is not highlighted. It's something that you can't just adjust that way. Xactimate's a little counterintuitive when you're adjusting your dimensions for your roof. Sometimes you have to click on these little corner circles or the adjacent angle in order to change the roof dimension. And you can change the construction material of whatever you're working on to give it better aesthetics when you're in your 3D view and kind of getting a realistic look at these things. Next, we have the variables. These are basically the measurements of your roof, all the variables that are associated with your roof. As we can see here, there's some shortcuts for these, and these become important when we're putting our estimate items in. If you want a particular measurement, you can input Eve F1 SF, and it'll give you the face one square footage. And again, this can be entered into the calculator aspect of your estimate items, that way you don't have to go back and look for the measurements. You can input these little shortcuts and it'll give you the measurements for your calculations. And we'll look at that in just a few. So again, now another dimension, very important, one of the most important dimensions, I think, to me, when you're snapping these together, is going to be your roof slope. You can have the same measurement set for both slopes, or you can have different slopes and set them independently. You just have to hit it in the drop down box there. This is a 412, so it's going to be whatever inches over 12 inches. That's going to be your rise over your run. So it's going to be 4 inches to 12 inches up is going to be your slope. So on this roof in particular, we have a 412 slope. Again, we can go over here and increase or decrease the slope. And you can see the difference of the slope. Let me go to 3D view.
I just want to show another way to change dimensions is these little circle boxes that are on your sketch. Um, a little counterintuitive, but the length, as you can see, everything is highlighted, the span, the rafters, except for the length of the roof isn't highlighted to where you can actually change that denomination within there. What we have to do is we have to click this little circular box, so that way it can highlight that dimension. And if you really think about it, this vector, this line that runs along the span, if you were to click that, this would be where you would extend the length of the roof. And that's the way I think about it. It's the adjacent line. So if you click on the adjacent line to the line that you need to change as far as the dimensions concerned, it will highlight it within the sketch. A little counterintuitive. Usually you might think that you would, grab that line and adjust it, but it's actually the adjacent line to the dimension that you want to sketch. And it's best, as you can see here, we've got some locked features, so that way we can't change the roof span, but the roof span is actually locked. So we'll go over here and unlock the roof span, and we're able to click and now drag and move the roof span by grabbing the adjacent line. And now we can manually do it without having to go into our preferences. We can do it within our sketch. But again, these locks that are by the dimensions um, are set by default, so that way you're not adjusting your roof, or it sets it. And as you alter one measurement, it alters the next measurement. So you take that in consideration as you're drawing your roof, because the dimensions have to match in order for the system to sketch it properly. Again, we hit that adjacent line of that circle, and we're going to change the length of the roof. It'll allow us to grab and drag, and or input into that top length number as it's highlighted. So yeah, as you can see, we're gonna go ahead and change the length of the roof. We'll just click on this clear box. It's gonna highlight the length area. As you can see, it wasn't highlighted before. We're able to get into the up and down arrows and change it here, or you can input your length for that dimension. Also, click and drag on that box. It's two ways to change the value. So now I want to add on to the gable roof. Um,
add another section of roof, as roofs are generally more complex than just a single gable. So we hit the roof tab up top, and it's going to allow us to stretch out another roof. It's another gable roof. That's the last roof we used. If we go to the drop down menu in the top, it'll give us options if you want a different roof. Really important here is that we set the slope. Again, when you're gonna connect these roofs together, Xactimate allows them to snap into place. If your roofs and your slopes are not matching, they have a tendency not to snap perfectly together. So you want to make sure you check your measurements for your slopes. Really important. So you go into that preference tab that we showed and go down there and adjust the slopes. So I went ahead and did that. Got a 3D look to kind of see how the roof is shaping out. So now, um, another useful tool is going to be the rotate tool. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this around so that way we can fit it on one of the faces here. So again, you have different options in the drop down menu on how to rotate. There's free rotate, rotate by 25 degrees, 45 degrees, 90 degrees, and you can set whatever preference you like. So since we turned it around here, get it straight. Okay. So that's a little better as far as the rotation. Go ahead and take a look at a 3D model. We're going to fit this second roof section onto the face F2. So if we go and look and we grab the circle, that clear center circle right next to the roof label, that allow us to drag the roof section. We drag it and we put it onto face 2, and it goes ahead and it snaps on and matches the roof just like that. Kind of see, I like to see how the values formed, um, to make sure that the drag and drop worked properly. So now, depending on where that gable sits, you can actually maneuver this in a couple different ways. Now, if you're in the 3D mode, you can actually click on the roof section, as I'll do here in just a second. So we highlighted that roof section. So the height is one way to adjust this. The ridge height will now adjust this higher, and it will sit higher on the F2 face of roof 1. As you can see, it's moved up the roof, it's maintained the slope, but now our ridge is sitting a little higher. And depending on exactly how your roof layout is, um, increasing the ridge will allow it to sit higher on that F2 elevation of the roof. So now we can get back into the 3D render and see how it is. And there's actually another way to move it up and down on this elevation as well. If you go into the 3D tab and click on that blue box, it'll allow you to move that roof section on the north-south plane, basically raising the elevation without changing the ridge height. So between the combination of the two, you should be able to set it properly to have an accurate sketch. Again, go into that blue pyramid, pull it up, and depending on where that gable sits and meets, depending on where you're going to place it. So another useful tool within the 3D section of the interface. So now I want to go back and show you how to relabel these two different roofs. You can click on the roof name on the top line there. I kind of went over this before, but go ahead and change this, show you how it's done. So you click in that box, you should be able to fill. And we're just going to put roof dwelling. As we click out of it, see the names changed. The second roof here, go ahead and rename that as well. So label it front porch, front entrance. You can leave it roof 1, roof 2, depending on how you want your estimate to look. Okay, so now I'm gonna add on the final section of roof, and I'm gonna show you an example of a flat shed roof, uh, primarily for patios that are attached to the back of a home, coming off the slope. Again, low slope, flat roof. I'm gonna show you how to do that. Work for that as well. So as you look, it's slope pretty substantially to one side. It has an arrow showing the direction of the slope. You can see there at the bottom there, that arrow's pointing up. That means from the bottom up, the slope's running up that elevation. So to attach this to our roof, we're going to have to go and rotate. Again, I use 3D view to give me an idea of kind of what's going on, what it looks like. You can see that roof slope's going up. Can't just attach it to the back of the roof the way it is. We're going to have to turn that around and then adjust the slope. That way we get a nice fit. So now we turn it around the right direction. We want the slope to be running down from the back of the roof of the gable down the patio, so that slope's going to be headed in that direction there. So now we're going to want to adjust the slope. It's a low slope, but we have to set as 0 slope. And we can do that to make it flat like a patio usually would. It usually has a slight slope to it, but really close to 0. The roof settings, go down a slope, change the slope. Now we can check in 3D format to see exactly how it looks. And we can see it's pretty flat there. Next, next to the roof label is that clear circle. You want to click on that, hold, and drag, and that'll give you the ability to drop that roof where you need it. So now that we have it positioned kind of where we want it, we kind of take a look in the 3D view and we can see that it doesn't exactly sit where it needs to be. Looks like the roof is just slightly below. So in the 3D view, we want to hit that little pyramid, blue pyramid shape. It allows us to move it on the axis up and down and kind of move that to where it clicks and locks into place to that roof. Now we can see attaches there to the eaves. Again, make some adjustments so you can move it up and down and see exactly how that is. That's meeting there. And you can see, even though I did shift it closer, we still have an elevation problem as far as where it's meeting the roof. And again, it has to do with the slope, the exact slope of a roof, the way it's designed. Again, it's not going to be completely 0. So taking the roof slope, the accurate roof slope of the roof that you're working on, is pretty important. If you're taking hand measurements, of course. Again, we've adjusted that, rose it to an elevation where it's going to meet flush with the roof. And now we've got our roof sketched. Pretty easy stuff, right? Again, we can take a look at the summary here. Square footage,
number of squares, and the slopes. Again, we have sets of 512s and zero pitch, 012 slope for the patio. Take a 3D look. See how our roof is panning out. Pretty basic stuff. So now we're going to go over some of the different roof types there is. We're going to go and grab the partial hip first. Drag and drop. And as we can see, the hips are kind of hard to see because of the span of the roof and some of the settings, but we're going to go here and adjust them so that way you get a better picture of the partial hips. Go to roof properties, and as you can see, this type of roof has a lot more options as far as their dimensions are concerned. Not only the rafter and eave height as it did, we have the hip width. Kind of shows you there in the diagram. We can go ahead and adjust the hip width, see if we can get these hips to come out. And there they are. You can kind of see them now. So we adjusted the width. And to give us a little bit of a partial hip there. Again, we're going to have to manipulate the dimensions depending on the roof you measured out. You should have those dimensions and be working with those and going into your preferences and applying your measurements. So now we made some adjustments so that way the hip is more prominent. And you can see how I did that in the preferences area. So now that we got that adjusted, we can go ahead and go to our 3D tab and take a look to see how it turned out. As you can see, the partial hip there. So we're going to go ahead and delete that and move on to our next Dutch hip. Expand it out. Go ahead and take a look 3D and get your eyes on a Dutch hip. So now we can go into the preferences. Click that little preference box. Come down again. Dutch hip's gonna have a whole bunch of different options in regards to that roof type. So the Dutch gable height, which it tells you there, is going to be that height on the top. You go ahead and raise that out and make it more prominent. Again, we over adjusted it. So go ahead and hit the undo button. So again, as you raise the height, it's going to alter other dimensions. Again, you can go into the roof property tab, come down and check all of these different dimensions that you can alter, experiment, kind of learn exactly what each one of these does to your roof sketch. So now we're going to go ahead and delete that. Go to the roof tab, drop down, do a half hip. You can see just by the drawing how different it is, how much you can kind of alter it based on the type of roof that you need as far as your half hip. Take a 3D look, see how it looks in real life. Okay, so again, now you can get into the preferences and it will have its own set of dimensions that you can alter for a half hip. So now we can move on. Go down here to a different type of roof. Erase this one and get it out of there. Right click, delete. Hit the drop down. So this is a gamble roof. Again, a little more of the exotic type.
Get a 3D look. All right. Can erase that. Next roof type is going to be a barrel. Hit the drop down all the way down to barrel. Again, you can see how many elevations it has. Roof faces. Kind of hard to see unless you can kind of rotate and get the shimmy off of it, but again, an exotic type of roof. Probably don't see them very often. So next, we're going to show you a turret roof. Looks like it could be on a castle. Drop that bad boy. Zoom in. Take a look at the 3D render. Again, you can see how many roof faces it has. We can go into the preferences here and reduce the amount of faces there are and all different types of options. See number of segments, 12. The overhang, peak height, and get this thing dialed in. So the final one I'll show you is a dormer. See these a lot on the second story dormer, usually where windows be located. Again, dormer has different options: eave height, overhang, slope. So now that we've got our sketch pretty much completed, we can get into the fun part and start dropping some estimate items. This is where you start to build your scope of work. So we go to the left tab here, hit estimate items, and as you can see on the left, we have main level, roof dwelling, roof 1, roof 2. We also have this blank area here down at the bottom is where you're going to insert your line items. We have 2 windows, a quick entry window
and a search window. And this is where you're going to, the top window is where you're going to search for your items that need to be removed or replaced, depending on the type of work you're being done. And the quick entry allows you to switch line items quickly once they are inserted in that bottom section there. So this is where I'm going to show you how to search for line items. Depending on the work that you're doing and the type of project, the line items themselves are all within the Xactimate program. Now it's just knowing your trade, knowing your install, and applying the proper estimate items. So we're going to go up in here into this little text box, and we are going to search for our first line item. So we're going to do tear off and haul of roof shingles. Now they have 3 tabs, and then they have architectural shingles as well. So the type of product that you're tearing off is going to be important for the cost and a proper estimate. And we get our first line item in. Again, type it in there, click, has a drop down box. When you get items that are similar in the text search, kind of scroll down there. If you can see what you're looking for, click on that and it will enter down in that estimate area. You can also search, see tear off. There's going to be over 100 matching items. And once you hit tear off, you can see there is a list of items that all include the term tear off. You want to go ahead and find the proper one for your application, and double click on it, and it will drop it down in the estimate area. So when you're adding estimate items, it's important to look at this grouping section here on the left column. As you can see, we added that line item in the level, the property address level. You also have your main level and the roof dwelling, roof 1, roof 2. When you're dropping estimate items, you want to make sure you come over here to the left and click the correct level. Usually when I'm preparing an estimate, if it's something that's supposed to be done for the entire elevation or level, let's say it's a dumpster, I'll usually group those on that main level, and then individual estimate items within each one of these roof categories. So as you can see here, by default, I had put it in the property address line, which is the top line, which is not where I want it. I want tear off to actually be within the roof dwelling level, as well as roof 1 and roof 2. Usually that'll separate the estimate for each section of roofing, which makes it more organized. You can also add them all within the main line, but that's a little more kind of just throwing everything in one level. I've seen it done before by adjusters. Really, it helps when you draw a roof out correctly and you use the proper uh, roof grouping. It will actually auto populate the variables that we had discussed earlier. If you do it in the main level, it won't add the roof measurements and allow you to just put in, perimeter
or squares in the calculation section. That way it adds to your estimate, and I'll show you that in just a bit. See, so I'll delete these from those lines. Now we're blank again. I'm going to go back into roof dwelling. See, main roof. We can add some things that will be done overall for the job. Let's say we have to have a dumpster. We would just add that to that main line, and not actually the roof grouping. Dumpster would be for the overall job, so I'd put that on the main level is how I would group my estimate. So now we're going to make sure we put the tear off on the right grouping, which is the roof dwelling. Now we have our estimate line in the correct grouping, and you'll see how that all matters in the categories when we run a report. So now we go to quantity. As you notice, the quantity is 0. Now what we want to do is we want to use Xactimate's measurements from our sketch, and I put T here for total, but it's not. You're going to go into your calculator. Sometimes I go over here and check to make sure. We can go ahead and click on the roof. We could look over here on the number of squares as well to give us an estimate. We can go into the roof properties, go to variables, and enter in any of those abbreviations, and it should give us our measurement within our calculator. So here I'm just hand putting quantity for the roof. Again, within these estimate items, we do have these detail tabs, which kind of run over exactly what's involved and what's paid for within these estimate items. Point of contention with adjusters, believe me, as Xactimate specifically specifies what it's paying for, and if it's not included in the estimate line, you can't assume that they're paying for it. Very important to kind of look at the details within this estimate line and build your estimates accordingly. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next estimate line, which is going to be your 3-tab shingle. So go ahead and double click it, and as you notice, it added 2 lines, a remove and a replace. By the minus is a remove, and a replace. We're going to delete one of these, and the reason we're deleting one of these is because the tear off, if you look at the description within the tear off, it specifically states to haul off and tear off roof shingles and felt. So if we add the estimate line of a remove and replace of a 3-tab shingles, it's going to be like we're removing it twice, which is something they won't pay for, believe it or not. But yeah, so you're going to want to add it. And once you add it, you're going to want to make sure that that estimate line reads adding 3 tabs, not removing and adding, but it's going to be a replace. So it should be symbolized with a plus symbol for the adding. Again, the removal happens during the tear off line item.
So we add it. Again, we see the remove and replace. We're going to go ahead and delete one of these. Um, so again, as you see here, the amount within the calculation tab, the SQ signifies the squares for that uh, roof grouping, and it will auto populate the measurement based on your sketch. So above, I did a manual input as far as the quantity. Below, for the three tabs, I go ahead and put the squares that are involved there. And again, we have both have remove and replace here, so one of these will have to be removed. Now this is going to be done across uh, all of the roof planes and roof sections. So we can go ahead and copy and paste and just drop in there. So we went ahead and copied and pasted into each roof grouping, as the same scope of work is going to be performed on each of the roofs, as they're all 3-tab shingles. So that back patio is actually a flat roof. Can't have shingles on a flat roof. You're going to have to go as far as code is concerned. For that elevation of roofing, you're going to need a rolled roofing or a standing seam roofing. We'll go over extensively how to build roofs in a different segment, but this is just the basics. Writing an estimate and Xactimate is one thing. Knowing your build is an entirely different thing. So for that roof, we're going to go ahead and do a rolled roofing. So tear off rolled roofing, which is going to be different than the tear off you need for a shingled roof. Again, go into the details, kind of see what the item line entails. Go up here to your search bar, put rolled roofing. As you see, it comes down pretty quickly when you put roll roofing, excuse me. Go ahead and add it. Again, sometimes you double click it, adds it twice, but you want to make sure you remove any duplicates. And that's just the adding of the rolled roofing. As you can see, we have a minus in here. We're going to go ahead and remove that because the removing of the rolled roofing is done in the tear off section. Go ahead and clean this out as well, as it's not needed. Again, this line item is included in the tear off, so we want to make sure that we edit that. Common mistake, as they will not pay for double tear off. So up here, as you notice, I went back to my main level for the grouping. I'm going to add a dumpster. Within the tear off item line, there's a description for a haul off with contractor's equipment and without contractor's equipment. And sometimes you have to add your own dumpsters if you're not using your own equipment. And again, this is where looking at the details of the item line is important in building your estimate. Went up to the search bar, search for dump, found a 12 yard, added it to the main line. So, majority of homes, based on code, had different attic ventilation. So a lot of times I'll add continuous ridge vent, making sure that the roof is properly ventilated. So we can put continuous, look for ridge vent, and add a ridge vent. Continuous ridge vents. And again, if you look in the calculator section, calc, it has R, and it'll calculate the ridge for that particular roof grouping. That's why it's really helpful to have your sketch
properly done, and then add your estimate lines within the roof grouping so that way it maintains those measurements. Good. Search for drip edge, find drip edge, add drip edge, another uh, code upgrade item. You know, most recent roofs will have drip edge, but you'll run into ones that don't. Again, going back to the search bar here, we're going to add some turbines, roof vents. So they have turtle type, turbine type, basically whirly birds, what everybody calls them. But you add your roof vents that are currently there. There's also line items for pipe jacks and exhaust vents and stuff like that. Whatever's on the roof, as far as penetrations are concerned, go up to your search bar and go ahead and search them in there, and you should be able to find them. Pipe flashing. Kind of get the idea. Make sure that you're in the right grouping, depending on what type of scope of work you need for each roof section. If it's consistent shingles, you can pretty much copy and paste across each. It subdivides them out. Now that we have a little bit of an estimate built here, we can go to photos and add photos if we have photos. And most importantly, go to reports and showcase our estimate. So as you see here, different estimate types. Really important to sequence your line items as they'll all be in different numerical order. That'll sequence them so it's 1 through 25. You have some check boxes here. Pretty self-explanatory. Summary, sketch. You want to make sure these things are included. This drop-down box, there is a bunch of different types of reports that you could print out. The ones that you would be submitting to the carrier are going to be your final draft. So we go ahead and put final draft. We resequencer the line items and numbers. We don't have to display any of those things. Again, all preferences on how the report's going to look when it's created. Go ahead and hit preview. And now we have a completed estimate with our logo, company information, client name, property type, operator, estimator, type of damage, date it was entered, price list and the time of the price list. It's a little bit of information there on the cover letter. And as you scroll down, you can see property address on the main level,
Dumpster is going to be on your main level. Anything that's on your main level is going to stay on your main level. Those are things that are going to apply to the complete project. Usually, what I put up there in the main level, and then after that, your section, starting with your roof dwelling, that first large section of gable, and the line items associated. As you can see, tear off, add 3 tab, continuous shingles, drip edge, roof vents, pipe jacking, and then the rolled roof section. And then our final section of roof, which again has that air of, as you can see, the tear off of the composition shingles and the removing of the 3 tab. So common error, as it does remove and replace. Usually by default, you're not going to be removing the shingles twice, as it's already in the tear off portion of the line item. It's good to see that mistake as they come up. Again, you have a summary of the breakdown, subtotal, overhead, and profit. Again, overhead and profit was a default. Being that this is just roof items, you're probably not something that would be justified for overhead and profit, but that's a totally different argument and discussion for next module when we talk about overhead and profit. So again, there's your estimate. Pretty simple, and congratulations, you've just made it through your first Xactimate estimate. So we've just completed a very basic tutorial showing you the different roof types, how to sketch a roof, how to go into the preferences, and how to build an estimate with the estimate items. As we move forward, we're going to get into more complex uh, sketches, as well as different types of applications. Again, most importantly, writing an Xactimate is one thing, but knowing your build and knowing exactly what you need for your build and using Xactimate as the tool to do so is really where you can be effective in writing rock solid estimates.